Well, hello everybody. It is Thomas Mercy and Amanda Zerkowski here from the Deep Geeks podcast, and we are here to give our live reactions for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Amanda, we didn't really think we were going to get to this point, but here we are. We have our final two teams. It is the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Dallas Stars, a matchup that not a lot of people expected to see, but you know what? I think it's going to be a good matchup nonetheless, and I'm really excited for this game to get underway.
Yeah, definitely not the matchup that I thought it was going to be. I 100% believe that Vegas was going to be in the finals taking on the Lightning.
As did I.
So, bit of a shocker in that Vegas series, but we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, in the podcast coming up this week. But, yeah, I'm ready for Game 1.
Yep, and as you mentioned, we'll talk a bit more about it in our podcast, which of course is being released tomorrow. Make sure you tune into that. If you're not subscribed to our Spotify and Apple or wherever else we do our podcast, please make sure you do listen in. We do encourage it, and we always continue to thank people for their great support. Of course, myself and Amanda are broadcasting live from our respective homes in Sudbury to respect social distancing. We were actually thinking of doing it in person, but because of the COVID guidelines and with Doug Ford coming out with the new regulations about social gatherings, we decided that it's probably in our best interest to do it here from home. So this is what we are able to do right now, and so far it looks great. Amanda is to my left. I'm on her right. If you are watching the stream, we do thank you for your support and hope that you do enjoy the show. The game's about to get underway in about, I would say, 10 minutes, give or take, because usually puck drop takes a while. We're not sure, how the Cup Final is going to run, especially given, the circumstances of it being in a bubble. There's no fans. Maybe they'll do team introductions, but we pretty much know the teams going into this. So let's basically set up the teams that we are going to see. Let's talk about the representative from the Eastern Conference. It is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and of course, they have gone through a bit of tribulation, not just last year, because obviously we'll talk about that in a moment, but this year, even more so. There was a lot to be expected from this team, and honestly, they exceeded all expectations, and here they are. They're back in the final, and it's the first time since 2015 they made the final, and right now, they are definitely looking like a very strong team. Of course, you got guys like Anthony Cirelli, you got Victor Hedman, of course, Nikita Kucherov leading the way. But the story, I think, for Tampa Bay this season, Amanda, you can probably agree with me or not, it has to be Andrei Vasilevskiy, because not only is he the Vezina candidate, he is one of the top goaltenders, not just in the league, but in this bubble at the moment. And he has really been the difference maker for the Tampa Bay Lightning and has really made it easy for them to get to this point.
Well, and I think that the case can be argued for him as far as being that guy in the playoffs, right? I think if it wasn't for him, that Tampa would not be in the finals right now.
It would be different.
I think that, he has been the difference maker for that hockey club, especially a hockey team that is without their leader in Steven Stamkos. I think that they were looking for someone to really step up in a big way, as are all teams. But I think that Vasilevskiy has really risen to the occasion and is definitely making a case for himself for this postseason.
Absolutely. And of course, one key contributor that is not in the lineup is obviously Steven Stamkos. But When they were doing the trophy presentation on Thursday, he was actually on the ice to accept the Eastern Conference trophy, which was obviously great to see. It started a lot of speculation, but Amanda, I think you and I can both agree and already know that Stamkos will not be available for the Stanley Cup final, which is a shame, but we all knew it was going to happen because this injury for him, he's had a really tough couple of years in terms of his injuries, and I think we knew going into the playoffs that he wasn't going to be good no matter how far they went. It's a shame, but it is what it is. But the other thing is Tampa Bay has played very well without Steven Stamkos, and honestly, if they had Stamkos, they could be more dangerous, but no one knows at this point. Obviously, they had to rebound from last year's disappointing exit. I think they've done it very well. Not having your captain sucks, but without Steven Stamkos, this team is still very, very dangerous.
Absolutely. And, Stamkos has been ruled out for game one, but they're not shutting the door completely on him getting into this series at some point. And I think that could make for a really exciting storyline as far as, what is going to happen over, maybe not so much game one, but game two, game three, game four, when they're evaluating and looking to see if maybe that might be that lift that Tampa might need at some point in this series. Who knows? Both of these teams are coming into this series winning their last series in overtime. So momentum is definitely in the favor of both of these teams, I think, coming into this series as far as how they finished their last series, and coming into this one knowing that this is it, 4 wins and you're hoisting the Stanley Cup above your head.
And, it obviously, a lot of people would say it was an easy path for Tampa, but for any team, it is not an easy path because given the circumstances, it's a much different game right now. And for Tampa Bay, I mean, they've gone through a lot of stuff over the last, I would say, year and a half. Obviously, a lot of expectation with how, for them to rebound after with what happened last year. We've talked about it 1,000 times. We don't need to reiterate what happened. I think they have definitely exercised their playoff demons, but there's still one goal left to accomplish, and that is to lift the Stanley Cup for the first time since 2004. And for an organization that has not really been the strongest over the last, I would say, few years in terms of playoffs, minus the 2015 run, this year is definitely promising to be something that we've seen, kind of like in the 2004 run when you had guys like Marty St. Louis and Vincent Lecavalier leading the way. For Tampa Bay, it's really about being able to control your composure, obviously, because the series with the Islanders, looked like a cakewalk realistically, but in Game 4, it was a much different looking Tampa Bay team. And, I mean, Tampa Bay has gone up against some of the best teams in the conference, but this Dallas team they haven't had much experience against, and that really could be the difference maker. We'll touch more about Dallas in just a moment, but given all the firepower that Tampa Bay has, all the injuries they did have and still do have, does that make a difference going into this series?
I definitely think that the advantage falls to Tampa in this series for sure. Are you watching right now the pregame? Sorry.
I can't because it's on NHL.com. So for some reason they don't like to show the pregame stuff, but I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be able to do it.
Okay. Tyler Seguin, of course, has to be the last one on the ice, and he waited back in the hallway before he came back out again, and then went back to the dressing room. So interesting little tidbit right there. But they get it in whatever way they can, right, to make sure that their pregame rituals are kept in place. But I do think the advantage on paper falls to the Tampa Bay Lightning for sure. Just this is a team that I think, like you said, in some ways sailed through the last round. I think that Dallas has faced more adversity in these playoffs, and I think that in some ways that can fuel the fire even more, right? And I think that this is going to be a very hard-fought series because I think they're very evenly matched. But experience-wise, I say Tampa, but Dallas, I think, has the edge as far as what they've faced so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
In terms of veterancy, I would definitely give the edge to the Dallas Stars because they got a lot of veterans that have a lot of Stanley Cup experience. Obviously, one certain player has won a Stanley Cup before, and obviously he knows what it's like to play in the final. A lot of these guys on both sides have not had very much cup final experience. Obviously, Stamkos has been there. Kucherov has been there. This is the first time really for Anthony Cirelli, but he knows a thing or two about scoring overtime winners. Of course, you and I remember his goal to win the OHL championship for Oshawa. He really can come into play again in this series, and I really think that will be the main difference maker is, in terms of veterancy and in terms of who has the most skill. I think that's what it's really going to come down to. And puck drop is just about to get underway, so let's get to the other side of the table and get to the Western Conference representatives, which are, of course, the Dallas Stars. And one person that I'm sure would love to see the Stars lift the cup above their head is our good friend Chris Dawson, because he loves his Dallas Stars. Obviously the big thing was, and you brought up the underdog term, and Dallas was the underdog without a doubt, because given how their performance was in the preliminary, or I guess you could say top seed figuring out bracket, they did not play very well, and they had a very big lack of scoring, and that was definitely something that was very concerning for the Dallas Stars. But then they go up against Calgary and they wipe the floor with them. And I say that very strongly. They wiped the floor with them because I had Calgary to win this series in a landslide 5 games, and Dallas just flipped the script right away. And you know what? Good for the Stars. Through all the adversity they've gone through over the last few years, because there's a lot of people in the social media that don't think the Dallas Stars are a good enough hockey team to make it this far, and look where they are now. And I mean, the main story, it has to be Anton Khudobin, because without Ben Bishop, this team obviously doesn't have their starting goaltender, which is crazy to think about, that they're in the cup final without their starting goaltender. But you can agree with me or not, Khudobin has been the story of not just the Dallas Stars, but the entire playoffs.
Well, and you know what? We've seen this storyline before, right? Where in Pittsburgh, Fleury wasn't performing. Matt Murray comes in, and there we go. We have a Stanley Cup winner in the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it's not unrealistic to, when you look at past storylines and what could be, and a goalie coming in and just stepping up in a way that, nobody really thought anything about him coming into this, as far as how far this team was going to go. And, you're in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, look where you are right now. This is by far the biggest stage for Dallas since 2000. And it's been a long time coming for that Stars fan base, because they've seen a lot of pretty rough hockey around the edges, to put it lightly. But I mean, you would think with a team that has so many great faces that's come through your organization that they would have had a cup or two by now. But here they are after multiple changes, obviously behind the bench, in terms of office manager and in terms of people on the ice. It's a very different looking hockey team. And to see them get to this point is truly the stuff that you see in films. And obviously they were not a very low seed, I'll say that right now, but this team was still not expected to even get out of the first round. So what really, aside from Anton Khudobin, was the difference maker for Dallas going up against their other opponents?
I think that the D core has been critical for Dallas. They really stepped it up, not right away.
It took a while. Yeah,
There were some definite struggles at the beginning, but I think that this hockey club has found a way to win in every situation. And we've seen that from them being down 3-1 in a series and coming back and winning that series. Yeah. So I think that based on what we've seen from this hockey club, and key guys stepping up at just the right time, and guys that are the unlikely heroes that, we've seen come in, and the rookie in Game 7, not
Kiviranta.
The last series. Yeah. and score a hat trick.
He was incredible in that game, and we talked briefly about it, but not enough. He was definitely the diamond in the rough, and he really showed that he was not just a one game wonder, even though he didn't really do much in his first game, but he's really stepped up in a big way because again, Tampa Bay has had their fair share of injuries, but Dallas is the same. As we mentioned, Ben Bishop is by far the biggest piece that they are missing. You also don't have Radek Faksa, which is really tough because Fax has been great. And then, of course, Martin Hansel's been out for the longest time. Roman Polak, their defense is good enough without Roman Polak. But losing Steven Johns is not easy either. And Johns has gone through a lot this season in a good way. And realistically, for the Dallas Stars, it's make or break time because who knows if they're going to make another run like this. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to do so. But anything's possible because this is the playoffs and it's the Stanley Cup final. I didn't think we were going to get here, but you know what? Here we are. We're in the final stage of this crazy bubble experiment. And you know what? I'm going to say right away, I was very skeptical about the NHL doing this. Full credit to the National Hockey League. They made this by far my favorite playoffs in a long, long time. And the hockey's great. The atmosphere, they make it feel like you're actually in the arena. While nobody is, it's still really great to see how well the NHL has done in turning this around and making it, as good as it should be when it comes to the playoffs. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't know if you saw this because you're on the NHL Network for watching a game, but Phil Pritchard, the curator of the Hockey Hall of Fame, the keeper of the cup, has actually brought the Stanley Cup into the arena.
Yeah, I just saw that
actually.
Right
now,
I just saw it.
Crazy because typically they're not bringing that in until earliest game 4, depending on what the situation is here, and you're lacking motivation, and you look up and you see that, like, you better step it up. As far as Dallas is concerned, like Jeff and I were talking about this today about, Dallas in the heyday of the Mike Modano era and, obviously dating back a bit, but I think Dallas, if they seize this opportunity, I think this is exactly the right time because like you said, I don't think that team or that core group really has an opportunity to do this again.
Yeah.
So
national anthems are just finishing up, so we are pretty much ready to go. And they went through all the starting lineups, and obviously the starting goaltenders, we already know who they're going to be. It's going to be Hudobin versus Vasilevsky, probably the most unlikely goaltending matchup that we were going to see because we thought it would maybe be Ben Bishop and Vasilevsky, but it's not. It's Hudobin and Vasilevsky. So This is going to be a very interesting first game, and I want to get your opinion, Amanda. What do both teams have to do in order to set the tone early on?
I think for Dallas needs to come out and play a physical in-your-face game against Tampa in order for them to really have that leading edge. I think Tampa is a much more skilled team up front, and I don't know about you, but I'm ready to kind of call where this game is going and this series is going. So
there we go. Already had the mic on mute. Good job, Thomas. So here we go. Game is underway. Did not think we were going to be here at this point, but here we are. We're at the Stanley Cup final. It's definitely been an interesting journey for a lot of hockey clubs. And especially, for not just like the families. For the families, I can imagine how tough it really has been for them. But, realistically, again, these are people's jobs to do the game as they see it. And they have to earn a paycheck. So, obviously, the family's very understanding at this point. Obviously, you've seen the videos of some guys, especially John Merrill, going back to his family. I was almost at the point of crying. It was certainly something to see, and you can obviously see, how badly they missed them. but they understand they had a job to do. And again, that's what it is. They have a job to do. So obviously family's very understanding of it, and I'm sure a lot of other people are. So it's good to see them get back with their families. But now the ultimate goal is to obviously come back home with the championship. And, obviously Nick Foligno said he was going to get that job done. Unfortunately, he didn't, which would have been great because, he's a good old Sudbury boy and a former Wolf. But, obviously the goal at the end of the day is to win that championship and obviously come back home and be able to spend time with their families afterwards. And I think there's really two goals to this entire thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, imagine being away from your family for this length of time. It's very difficult being in the bubble, I'm sure. No question. If this series goes to 7, we're basically 2 weeks away from finding out who the Stanley Cup champion is this year, which is pretty crazy because, like you said, we weren't really sure we were going to get to this point. Yeah. So, but kudos to the NHL for how they've handled, COVID and their plan and the bubbles. Like, this has worked very, very well.
Almost perfectly, I should say. They executed this to a T. Like, it's been amazing to watch.
Yeah. No, and hearing no positive tests, like, that's a lot because we look at the dumpster fire that's the Major League Baseball. It's
gone show. Absolute gone show. I still can't believe it's going, but I mean, they are almost at the end of the season, so why not try and finish it out, right? Unless something really bad happens. And I guess we never really gave our official predictions. I know the game is underway, but I can't help but feel like I don't know who's going to win. It really is a toss-up now because you have a team that you expected to get here, but given the circumstances from last year, you didn't expect it. And now you have a team that you didn't think was going to get here at all. So who do you think is going to take home the cup at the end of all of this?
I'm giving the cup win to the Dallas Stars.
Okay. And you think this is going to go the distance? Like, this could go to 7?
I do. I think this is going to go 7.
For a Stanley Cup final, I would love to see this go to 7. I think it makes sense for it to go to 7. But again, it depends how both team plays, right? If they both play defensive games, this is going to go on for a long time. Hell, it might even go to 5 overtimes again. Who even knows at this point? If it does, I don't have the patience for that. But either way, I think it's going to be a great series. As much as I want to see either team win, it would make me happy. I would love to see this underdog story finish. Because, I mean, I had Vegas and Philly going all the way. And unfortunately, both teams are not here at this point.
I would never have picked Philly in the final.
I thought they were going to, realistically, because you look at the way Carter Hart's been playing, they should have been in the final, but the rest of his team laid a giant goose egg in front of him. Like, how can you blame Carter Hart for what his defense and offense produced?
Definitely
it's not his fault, and I never really got to say that. People were dunking on Carter Hart, and I'm like, you don't understand how good this goalie has been, man. Like, he came in as basically an emergency guy because Philly's goaltending tandem was literally falling to shambles because of how many injuries they had. He comes in and he shuts the door, for Christ's sake. Like, that's how good this kid is. And I knew right away that he was going to be a difference maker for this playoff push. And unfortunately, they just fell short. But again, the Islanders played really, really well. And I actually thought they were going to go to the final at that rate. But then again, you run into a really hot Tampa Bay team, and they just embarrass you in the first 3 games before you actually make a bounce back. So, I think I'm going to go on the other side of the table just because you picked Dallas. I think we need to have a decisive winner. I mean, you won the last round prediction, so kudos to you on that. But I think we need to have a decisive winner. So I'm going to say Tampa Bay does win this series. I think it will go to 7, 6 at the very least. But I definitely think this series will go the distance. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I had to switch to my TV, by the way, so that's why I'm looking that way, because my computer is buffering really poorly. So unfortunately, I had to switch to the other side and also take out my microphone in the process. We're already 5 minutes in. Shots are 3-1 Dallas. So good start for the Stars. they're trying to throw everything they can at Vasilevsky, but like, where do you even begin to try and beat Vasilevsky? Like, where do you think Vasilevsky's weakness really is, if he has one?
Does he have a weakness?
I was
at
just
this
going
point?
exactly. Like, does he really have a weakness? I'm beyond convinced he doesn't, because you think back to those two reach behind glove saves. He got beat blocker side, but he reached back and he was able to grab the puck. So maybe, if anything, his biggest weakness might be his 5-hole or low blocker side.
Yeah.
And there we go, 1-0 Dallas. I didn't see who scored, so that shows how much I'm paying attention, but I'm looking away. And it looks
That
like it's
was
Joel Hanley. Wow, I could
was
not
a
have predicted that to be the first goal. Wow. That's a pretty dangerous hit by Kiviranta, though. Do you think that's worthy of a penalty? It's tough to say, because Callahan came right at him afterwards, but I think Callahan left this man open because he was more worried about his player being hit by Kiviranta, so that left Hanley wide open, and that's a great shot, by the way. Very nice shot by Hanley. Looks like they actually let fans in Dallas, so that's good to see.
That's bizarre.
It really is. It truly is something that, again, there's no fans. That's something we might have to experience in the Ontario Hockey League if we have a season. But again, nothing's really set in stone. But to see no fans, especially in the Stanley Cup Final, Amanda, it's obviously a much different atmosphere without fans. With fans, it's a different atmosphere. But this is the first time that the Stanley Cup Finals haven't been played without fans. So, like, you know, does the cup being lifted kind of does the moment get taken away because there's no fans?
I think the moment, no matter how you experience it, because there's guys, obviously, you get one shot, really, and it depends on who you are, which team you play for, but some guys are one shot, that's all you get, and you make the most of it. And really, when you think about it, whether, yes, obviously having fans in attendance and having your family present when you raise that cup, totally different experience, but I don't think that it becomes any less special in this circumstance at all. No, because you're still, no matter what, at the end of the day, you're still a Stanley Cup champion.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, you know, when you lift the cup, it obviously feels like a feather. That's what I've heard. So, I mean, you know, obviously there's going to be a huge burden lifted off of whoever's shoulder is lifting the cup. But, I mean, at this rate, really strong start for Dallas. Again, you got to throw everything you can at Vasilevsky. They did a good job of starting that. So, I mean, really, really promising start. But obviously, Amanda, I think the key message is don't take your foot off the pedal. That's the last thing you want to do, especially against a team like Tampa.
Yeah. It's funny you say the whole sensation of it being like a feather, and I was lucky enough that I actually got to drink out of the cup.
What? Okay, you're so lucky.
Probably, like, I would probably say it's like one of the top moments of my entire life.
That would be the number one moment of my life. Are you kidding me? Drinking out of the cup is like it's you have to earn that right too. And I mean,
exactly,
like not everybody gets to touch the cup.
I did not earn it.
Not everybody gets to see or touch the cup. It's, you know, obviously there's
and it was very special because when Randy Carlyle won with Anaheim, he had his Stanley Cup party at a place on Manitoulin, and I had been working at that place for quite some time, so we actually got to work the Stanley Cup party. Wow. And the Stanley Cup literally sat in the middle of the restaurant, and we had it on the table. I spent most of my night talking to Phil, and he was talking to me about like the heyday of the Pittsburgh Penguins and Stanley Cup parties with Mario Lemieux and Yager. And he said that those were some of the best experiences that he's had traveling with the cup, and he's been able. The stories that he told were just incredible. I still actually have the cork from the champagne bottle that we opened, that we drank out of the cup out of. It was incredible.
That's awesome. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I can't believe I've known you all these years and you got to drink out of the cup. That's crazy. You lucky girl, you.
Yeah, it was pretty. Actually, I'll show you because there's the commercial. Hold on a second.
I think I got the game back on the computer, so this will be a lot easier because I feel bad that I'm looking away and I have to look at two different screens at once. It's definitely not ideal for me.
Thank you. Okay, I'm much younger in this picture, but
wow, that's wow. Yeah.
I was so afraid to just sit beside it. I'm like, I don't know if.
Well, I would just be sitting there. I'd be like, "Is this not allowed? Can I touch it? Can I?"
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first time I actually ever ran into the Stanley Cup was in 2004 when Tampa Bay won it. I can't remember his name. He was part of the coaching staff, but he brought the cup here to Sudbury to Tom Davies Square, and I happened to be in the YMCA at that point, and we decided, I brought up the fact because the newspaper came out. I'm like, how cool would it be to go across the street to Tom Davies and go see the cup? And our counselor, whatever you want to call them, was like, you know what, let's go for a little field trip. And that's the first time I genuinely got to touch and see the actual cup because, again, there's multiple cups. I think there's like 2 or 3. There's, of course, the one major one, the one that's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and then I think an extra just in case something happens because, Ovi dropped the cup a couple of years ago, so they had to fix that in the process. But I do remember, obviously, when Andrew Desjardins won it, and that was a great experience on its own. That was amazing.
We were there for that one as well. I was lucky enough to actually talk with Andrew and Mandy when they had won, because at the time I was part of the 6th Avenue Playground Association.
Okay.
And Lively, and Andrew held a golf tournament every year in order to help the community. So one year, money was given to Walden Minor Hockey Association. Mm-hmm. The year that we were part of the 6th Ave program, the reason that they actually have an outdoor rink that's a permanent outdoor rink at 6th Ave was because of Mandy and Andrew. Yeah. So the money that they raised from that golf tournament went to purchase like the ice pad. So we did all the cement with the money that they were able to raise, some of the boards. So absolutely, I cannot say enough good things about Andrew Desjardins and
just
Mandy,
amazing people.
Wife. Like, oh yeah, really, really, really awesome people, and really down to earth, and really just about community, and they always make sure that they're helping in some way, which is fantastic.
No, it's truly amazing work what Andrew's been able to do, not just in the NHL, but even while he's playing overseas. And before I get to the story that I want to tell about meeting him at his cup rally in Lively, my mom, I was actually working with my mom at Carpentland at the time. I was working in the warehouse, and my mom had a customer come in, and it happened to be one Andrew Dale and his wife, like a year after they won the cup. So he came into the building. I hadn't known about it until he was gone, and I was just absolutely heartbroken because I thought, Andrew Desjardins was the nicest guy because I had met him before at the rally, but like, just kind of see him, out in public, especially at the store you're working at, is definitely very different. But it was definitely a really cool experience. But before that, before meeting him at Carpentland and having huge respect for him, I was in line, one of the first ones in line at the Lively event. And I was in line with really good friends of mine. And there's obviously an autograph line, there's the cup, and then the Clarence Campbell Bowl along with it, which was awesome to see. The Clarence Campbell Bowl, you don't really get to see the conference trophies because, you get to the Hall of Fame, the one main thing you want to see is the freaking Stanley Cup, and your focus is only on the cup. So getting to see the Clarence Campbell Bowl was pretty special, but to get that close to the actual cup was really, really, really awesome. But then I get into the autograph line. I meet Andrew, and I didn't want to hold up the line, but I just wanted to talk to him about my experience in North Bay with special needs hockey, because Andrew is a huge ambassador when it comes to special needs hockey. So we had a small conversation about it, and he said, and I told him about how my mom wanted to start up a special needs hockey program here in Sudbury, and he said, if you guys want any help at all, please do let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. We haven't been able to get that started because, we dealt with some family matters, and obviously with COVID, you can't really do anything right now, which really sucks. But just getting to actually talk to Andrew about, being someone that's involved in the hockey community, but for a different reason, it's really special to see an NHL player who has won a championship to put the focus not really on himself, but on you, and just get to know you. And for Andrew, he's a really, really special guy. And I have a humongous respect for him before and after that conversation. And for someone like him to back up a dream that me and my mom have been wanting to commit, it's just fantastic for us. And I'm going to be forever grateful for him being able to say those kind of things. It was really great to see, honestly.
Well, and we have a unique experience with the game in the sense that obviously being involved with the media, but we're involved at a much earlier place, in their careers when it comes to the OHL. But getting to see guys go through the ranks and have an opportunity to play for an NHL team, and especially now, like, as some of these guys are playing even in this game, like, I'd have to double check, but I'm fairly confident there's a couple players that I've interviewed before, just over the years. And that's always like that moment where it's just like, oh yeah, I've met these people before. It puts it all in perspective, right?
I agree. Looks like Dallas might be getting penalized here. Amanda's got some cuddle buddies for her game. She's lucky.
These two scare not at all. Like, she's literally upside down on the couch.
Jeez. You know what? That might not be a penalty because Hanley was chopping at it and it kind of deflected off of Killorn's stick. So, I mean, Cooper right away is like, man, that's out. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to be a penalty, and it looks like they're going to just cut straight to commercial. And it's still 1-0, by the way, Dallas. And I don't want to say they're laying off the gas pedal already, but after the goal, they're kind of laid back a little bit more than they were at the start. And again, you can't really lay back the way that other teams have laid back in the past. But I still think Dallas is playing a really, really good game at this point. And, they're obviously keeping Tampa out of their zone, which is very important.
No, definitely. Who do you think's going to win this series?
I always love these commercials. Good grief.
Two different styles of hockey, right?
What's on the other side?
Dallas.
Yeah. Jeff thinks Dallas is going to win this series, too.
I mean, it's definitely a good pick. I'm only picking Tampa just because, you picked Dallas, I picked Tampa, but I really do see Dallas potentially coming out of this bubble with the cup. And I mean, it would be a great story for Rick Bowness, would it not? Because obviously losing a great fan like Dale Hawerchuk, I'm sure that this really lit a fire underneath him to get his team to this point. So I would love to see Bowness win this. I'd love to see a guy like Sagan win this after, obviously he's won the cup before, but if he were to come out of this with the cup, I think it would be amazing. A guy like Jamie Benn, he's grinded out the majority of his career in Dallas already. For a guy like Anton Hudobin in his story, what a great cap off would it be for him to, after such a long hockey career, to finally get the cup over his head. Like, how can you not cheer for the Dallas Stars at this point? I don't know where the defenseman's going on that one. Looked really, really stupid. How long has it been since the Drouin and Sergachev trade? Like 3 years, maybe 4?
I don't know.
It's been a few years. I know that. So, like, who do you think wins that trade now?
No.
It has to be Tampa,
no,
right?
I say no. Good for you. Barkley Goodrow was in on that one too.
Former North Bay Battalion, as my stream is frozen up again, so that's great. I think my computer is trying to tell me something. So I might have to turn on the game over here and might just have to kind of go like this, and it is all tied up. I was wondering why you were talking about Goodrow. Now I know. Goodrow's been having a pretty decent playoffs, has he not? He's definitely been there for his team when they needed him. So all respect to him on that front.
Absolutely. Well, and look, he was part of that overtime winner in the last series.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one to help cap off the that big comeback against Vegas in the, what was it, second round, or was it first round last year? I can't remember. My memory sucks, so I honestly don't even remember.
I can't remember what I did earlier today.
Me neither. My allergies have been so bad, and I apologize in advance to anyone that's watching this, but like my allergies have just been nonstop. I went out in public and I got a few weird looks because people, you know, if you even do so much as cough or freaking sneeze, people think you have COVID and just want you burned at the stake, and it's really starting to get on my nerves, man. I can't stand it anymore. So about getting close to 6.5 minutes left. And I mean, Tampa got the bounce back they needed. But what else do they have to do to try and, you know, obviously stay competitive in this game?
I think Tampa just needs to keep skating with Dallas because Dallas really came out strong, which I was expecting based on when you look at this series. I think that Dallas is the one that has something to prove versus Tampa, and I think Tampa's a little bit on their heels right now. Now, mind you, they just did tie the game up, but I feel like Dallas is outskating them right now.
Oh, absolutely. I think for Tampa, the goal is exercise your demons from last season and not choke. And right now, they're not choking. They're right in the spot where they wanted to be. And, you know, I said after a collapse like that, how do you not blow this team up? They stuck to their guns. And you know what? Here they are in the final. If they fall short of the goal, it's going to be disappointing. I don't really think any change comes out of it. But for Tampa to exercise their demons and just take care of Columbus so easily, and now here they are in the Cup final with almost perfect ease. It's hard not to see this team win the Cup at the end of the day, but we don't know until, you know, the final buzzer sounds. But for Dallas, is, like you said, come out really strong to start this game off. And that's concerning for Tampa Bay already to start this game. Keep in mind, they haven't played each other very much, if at all, this season. I think maybe 1 or 2 games, give or take, considering it's, you know, Florida, Texas, but I just think it was not an ideal start for Tampa Bay. It's good that they got the tying goal, but just at this point, any mistake is going to cost you pretty much the game in the series. So Tampa Bay needs to tighten up a lot better than this.
Did you see the last shot that Dallas just took?
Yeah, because that's what, the 6th block shot now for Tampa?
Well, I almost wonder if that's a set play for Dallas because they are shooting from just the top of those hash marks right down the center, and that's where they scored their first goal. And then the next shift out after that goal, they tried that same play again.
Do you think Kiviranta is going to be a difference maker for Dallas in this series? Or do you think he kind of sits back a little bit more as like a third line guy?
I don't think he is going to be the one that's going to be the difference maker.
So who do you think is going to be the main guy for Dallas at this point? Because I think I already know who it's going to be. As much as I don't want to say it, I think I know who it's going to be. Like,
Sagan needs to step up.
Oh no, Sagan absolutely needs to step up. But again, he's coming back from being unfit to play, but we all know it was an injury. But I think the real shining star, no pun intended, for Dallas has been Alexander Radulov. Like, he has been a monster in this playoffs, has he not?
Absolutely.
That's who I think is going to be the difference maker. As much as I don't like him, and obviously he's not the best looking guy, he's definitely stepped up his game, and he's shown Dallas why he deserves to be here and why he wasn't just a one season wonder with Montreal a few years ago. I definitely think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this series, at least in terms of forward depth. I just think Radulov, has stepped up his game to a whole new level. And obviously that exposure in the KHL kind of did help. But we all knew how good of a player Radulov was. So for him to really step up his game at this point, if he does that here in the final, I really think it's going to be the reason why Dallas comes away with a victory. But again, they got to keep their foot on the gas pedal, because right now it looks like they let up a little bit. But Tampa's having a hard time keeping them out of their zone. So really, both teams are not really playing their best hockey at this point of the game. Another block shot for Tampa. I think that's the 8th one. Tampa's definitely not afraid to get their body in front of the puck, and I respect the hell out of that. Nice dive. Oh, goodness. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Game 2 would be on Monday, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. It would have to be. Why would they play back-to-backs? Would be kind of silly. That's kind of a dumb question on my part. My head's not completely here. I have been taking allergy meds and headache medication out the wazoo today, and I am just not here.
So the only time that they would play back-to-back is if this series goes 5 games. They would play the 25th of September would be Game 4, and then Game 5 would be the 26th.
Wow. I mean, they didn't really plan... they didn't necessarily plan for the playoffs to end this early. It's definitely ending a lot sooner than they had planned out, but obviously you have to have that little bit of room for maneuverability and change things on the fly. But I think, obviously with the draft coming up in just over a month from now, or actually less than that, because the draft has been pushed forward now to a week earlier, I definitely think they were expecting this to end a lot sooner, so that's why they pushed the draft to where it is now. So, I just think that the NHL, I don't want to say they're rushing things, but obviously they want there to be a December 1st start. Is that going to happen? I have absolutely no idea, and I don't think it starts on December 1st. It's probably going to happen late December, which really isn't too bad. Do we really have to rush back into another season? Like, we can take our time, right? Because the OHL is planning to start up on December 1st. We have no idea, especially now with the new regulations set out by Premier Ford. So, who knows what's going to happen at this point? But, I mean, it's really a toss-up when next season is going to happen. So, I'm kind of off track, but they're trying to, I guess, end the season as soon as they possibly can, right? Because if they have to play in bubbles again, they got to get Edmonton ready within a month and a half, which is really quick.
Well, and today, obviously, there was the release from Bettman saying they want to make sure that they can get a full 82-game schedule in. They're looking to move it potentially as late as beginning in January, phasing in fans as things go about. Just depends on what the situation would be, right?
Yeah. I think the situation in Canada has been a lot better than the United States, and it's surprising to see some teams in the NFL let fans into their stadiums. Um, but I was watching Bundesliga earlier today, and they had a pretty decent amount of fans out in Dortmund today, but obviously socially distanced. Obviously, you and I obviously cover the OHL. Do you that kind of being the same thing with like, fans obviously being spaced out around, or do they even have fans going forward next season? Because you and I have talked about this in the past, but for hockey leagues, obviously the majority of their money comes off of fan revenue, and I think the NHL could get away with it maybe for one more season, but for a league like the OHL, you just can't, right?
Well, the NHL, no matter what, has the TV partnerships. They've got obviously their sponsors. Just look at the boards right now. The big guys haven't pulled out. You got Enterprise, you got your Pepsi, like so on and so forth. Where we're at, but the OHL, it doesn't work that way, right? There's not big TV partnerships, and there's not going to be big TV partnerships for the OHL with viewing rights. So I think as far as the OHL is concerned, what happens next within the next little while with how the trend is going, if there is that second wave, then December 1st is probably overly optimistic, because that looked at basically having players coming back to training camps. I believe it was mid-November.
Yeah.
And right now, mid-November is just under 2 months away, and numbers are increasing. I don't foresee there being fans, not when the gathering limits are what they are. You can only have 50 people in a movie theater really at this point. So how are you going to have anybody in an arena? I just don't think it's going to be possible. Not right away.
Depends on the market, right? Like, obviously, Southern Ontario is by far the biggest mess right now. Because we were talking to the Phillips and Weekses, because they told us that the guidelines have changed for their part. So, do Southern Ontario teams have any fans? To be honest, like maybe you have some.
Well,
it would have to be immediate family,
today,
right?
So originally it was gathering sizes were changed for Toronto, Peel, and Ottawa region, and now it's been imposed on all of Ontario.
Which I don't get me wrong, we're obviously still trying to protect one another, but why should other communities like Sudbury be, I don't want to say punished, but why should it be affected because of what's happening in major parts of the province like Toronto and Ottawa? Is that fair to say?
I think I get the understanding of like what you're saying, and I can appreciate that. I think from what we heard today in the press conference, it was more just about keeping everyone safe, and
which I get.
Obviously,
I get it.
Like they're finding that there's community transmission, it can't be traced to anything. So, with that being said, now mind you, the real focus is on these gathering sizes, as everything got reduced today. But I don't know. Well, it's so hard to say, right? And to make, like, to pass an opinion on it. Everybody's got an opinion on it, but I don't know. I think about it maybe a little bit differently, just because we have kids and wanting to make sure that they're safe. And obviously, like, we kept our kids home and we're doing online learning, and for a variety of reasons, but it was the best choice for our family. So
now this isn't hockey related, but I want to get your opinion on it, because you are a parent of children, and obviously you care about Colby a lot. What's your whole opinion about this whole back to school thing? Because in my honest opinion, early on, it looks like an absolute shit show at this point. Like, is that a fair statement?
Part of the reason why we kept the kids home was because of the fact that there seemed to be a lot of juggling of what was going to happen. The government hands down their recommendations and their plan, and then the school board is basically left to go and deal with what the government has said. But I know in our case, like, school didn't necessarily start great. Colby was put into an English class online. He's in French immersion. Declan started, yours was good, right? Yeah, yours was good. And then Dex, our youngest, didn't even have a teacher because there wasn't enough teachers. So, interesting enough,
Do you want to talk about this Noah Dugas really quickly? Because I know that's what you and I are both looking at.
Chris had posted a bunch of stuff, and he was selling some hockey memorabilia to raise money, which I thought was fantastic. Yeah. So
it's really disheartening to hear about this, especially considering it's someone from North Bay. You and I obviously have a great connection with North Bay. This is a really sad thing to hear about. And on behalf of myself and Amanda, I'll let you say what you want to about to him, but I just want to extend my my love out to Noah. No child should have to go through what he's going through right now. Nobody ever should, especially someone of his age. So hopefully he's on path to a speedy recovery down the road. It's great to see the hockey community just embrace him and bring them into their hockey families. It's just to see someone go through this, especially of someone his age, is really it's scary. It's sad, but I think he can look to someone like Oscar Lindblom and persevere through this and just battle and try and be better every day. And I'll let you say what you want about it, because I forgot to ask you about it at the start and beforehand, but this totally caught me off guard. I was outside. I didn't hear about this until I came inside, so it didn't catch my phone until I actually came back inside for doing yard work. But what do you have to say about it?
So I don't know much about it. I just saw that Chris Dawson, obviously, he's a friend of mine, and we're connected on Facebook. So I saw what he had posted, but I don't really know too much about this story.
Neither do I.
Obviously, I'm just trying to pull it up right now just so that I can have a look at it. But
correct me if I'm wrong, but could Chris Dawson's son have possibly played with him at some point? I could be wrong, but it's obviously with the North Bay Trappers system, so there's a chance that they do know one another.
I feel like Chris's son is...
I think he might be in his under 16 or under 18, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so just to draw some attention to this in particular is okay, so Chris is trying to raise money through the original North Bay $1 auction and bid.
Mm-hmm.
He says if you are not a member, let him know and he will invite you. So that's the original North Bay $1 auction and bid. Maybe we can throw that up on Twitter.
Yeah, I could definitely do that before we record tomorrow's episode.
So Chris is selling off some of his personal hockey memorabilia. What does he have here? He's got a 2017 Voodoo's championship photo.
He's also got that Atlanta Thrashers uniform. That I did see.
Yeah. He's got Dallas Stars prospect Colton Point autographed 8x10 and an autograph card and puck display of former battalion star Barclay Goodrow with the Lightning. He has that Thrashers jersey, which is autographed. Chris Thorburn. What else? Oh, I already loaded that.
I didn't know Brian Burke had a book. Jesus. Did you know Brian Burke was getting a book?
I did not.
If it's in collaboration with Stephen Brunt, I might have to read it because Stephen Brunt is just an unbelievably great, not just voice, but what's the word I'm trying to look for here? A great person with his words, I guess, like a good illustrator. Is that the right term to use? Illustrator? Because I got nothing. I got no vocabulary today. It's out the window.
Okay, so just reading a little bit more about the whole thing with Noah. There's some big name players that have thrown their support online just to raise awareness, and Nick Foligno is one of them. Pittsburgh Penguins released something. Who else? Don Cherry, James Duthie.
I guess you could throw Hockey Night in Canada into that circle.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, I gotta go and do mom duties and put kids to bed.
Okay, I'll try and keep going on with the show here. So I'll just take you. Oh, not me. I'll just take you off screen momentarily, and and then just when you come back, I'll bring you back into the fray. So for anyone that is watching, it is 1-1 between Dallas and Tampa here in game number one. And it's been a pretty good start to the game so far. Again, I think Dallas really came off with a much stronger start than Tampa Bay. So really good start for Dallas, but then they kind of let off the gas pedal just a little bit, and Tampa Bay kind of came back into play. And I mean, that's why the game is tied at this point. So going forward, it's going to be hard to say whose game this really is going to be. Again, me and Amanda know who we want to see win this series realistically, but I think for right now, this is going to go. It's obviously going to go one of two ways, but since it's tied, God knows what's going to happen at this point. So second period is going to be coming up in, I would imagine, maybe 5 minutes, give or take. So we'll wait and see what happens once we get back to actual hockey. So while we wait, Amanda and I are going to take our own little intermission. She's going to take care of her family. I'm gonna go grab some water, and then we'll be back with the second period in just a moment. So if you are tuning in, thank you very much for your support, and we will see you in just a few minutes. All right, we are back ready for period number 2 between Dallas and Tampa. I'm Thomas Mercier. Amanda Zurkowski is just away for the moment. She'll be coming back in a few minutes, but the second period is officially underway from the bubble in Edmonton. 1-1 tie between the Stars and the Lightning. Good start to the game. And so far, there's really no decisive winner. I mean, it looked like Dallas at the start, but my God. Kind of let off the gas pedal just a little bit too much, maybe. But either way, no team's really made any big mistakes so far, so realistically, it's been a pretty even game for the time being. Excuse me. Good shot there from Shattenkirk from the point. I think if you're going to try and beat Anton Hudobin, it's got to be from a better point than that. I think you got to get a little bit closer just to beat Hudobin from that area. Looks like Dickinson took a stick in the face. Mike Cohen's going to go off. Cooper's not happy. Oh, yeah, he took a slash right on the wrist. Yeah, slash right on the wrist. I mean, it's going to get called every day. So again, we're just waiting for Amanda to come back in. Once she comes back in, we'll bring her back into the fray. But for now, see me. So actually, I should. See that? Oh, nope. Really good chance there, actually. Dallas is getting some good shots, but they gotta hit the net at some point. Good job to hold the line. Take that shot. Oof. Another close chance for Dallas, but just... I don't know. Something about Tampa's defense just might be a bit of a difference maker. Not to take anything away from Dallas's defense, but, man, I don't know. Good PK there from Tampa. Yeah, good PK from Tampa. What am I talking about? Nice move. Ooh. If anyone knows how to use his hands in terms of defenseman, it is John Klingberg. He did a really good job of moving the puck in. That'll be icing. So again, once Amanda is back, we'll bring her back into the conversation just to try and kind of catch her up on the game. I mean, really gets power play for Dallas, but just couldn't really get too much on net. That just shows, how good of a PK Tampa Bay really does have. So that could really be kind of a difference maker in this series. Chernak has been out for a while. He has got to get off. Really low shooting game, I'm noticing, to start this off. Neither team's really had, obviously too many shots or too many quality scoring chances. So, I mean, that kind of sums up how game one, I guess, should be. It should be really close, kind of back and forth. I guess some people are different when it comes to how they want to see their game play out. For me, you got to really set the tone strongly when you first start. Excuse me. And again, Dallas started off the game really strong. Coming in as the underdog, you got to try and set the pace. And they kind of did with the way they started. Got an early goal, but unfortunately kind of let off the gas pedal just a little bit. So that's pretty much why Tampa's back in the game now. But, I still think it's a relatively, well, not relatively, it is a pretty close game. Low shooting. Not a lot of scoring. I don't think there's going to be that much scoring in this series. It's really going to be a defensive and goaltending battle because Hudobin and Vasilevsky by far have been the best goalies in the bubble leading up to this point. So we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the series out. And again, game 2 is on Monday. New episode of the podcast is coming out tomorrow. So definitely keep your eye out for that. I, I'm pretty surprised Tyler Seguin, considering that he's an absolute man rocket, has never been to an axe throwing. What do you even call those? Axe throwing place, or just axe throwing in general. I mean, I've never personally gone. I would love to go, but with COVID, can't really do that right now. So. Another penalty? Yeah. Called it. Oh. Yeah, Dickinson was definitely holding his stick there. That's a tough call, man. I don't really think that's a hook. Yeah, I don't really agree with that being called a penalty. Tampa's got to kill it off, though. They can't, you know, they can't let it get to them already. They have run into penalty trouble, and that could really be their Achilles heel. But they need to shake this off, get it killed quickly, and this might not be a good start to the PK. Good save by Vasilevsky on that one. Corey Perry. Wow, right into his glove. Ruby Hintz had a really good shooting lane, but for McDonough to just get in front, barely deflected off of his back. It shows you how committed he is. And he's another player that has Stanley Cup experience. I mean, Corey Perry, Joe Pavelski, Tyler Seguin has won a cup before. Pavelski hasn't, which is unfortunate. I would love to see Pavelski win a cup because I think this is probably his last chance. I mean, me and Amanda talked about it. This is really Pavelski's last hurrah at trying to win a cup. So it's all or nothing now because it didn't work out very well with San Jose. Hopefully it works out better with him being in Dallas. And I guess I'll ask Amanda about Pavelski when she comes back because, I mean, Pavelski went up against her team, so and I'll try and get her opinion on it because, I mean, if I want to see anyone win a cup, it's definitely Pavelski. I had no idea that was John Hanley's first goal, and it was the opener for the game. Good for him. Good stuff. Shots are definitely picking up now because, I mean, with Dallas being on the power play, you got to just freaking let it rip. And it looks like they've been doing that. Palat was right there to tip it. There you go. I was gonna say you gotta shoot that puck like right away. He's lucky he got that rebound, man. My God. And he talked to Top Shelf too. Nice shot. Again, once Amanda comes back, we'll bring her back into the live stream. Excuse me, and hopefully I'll stop burping at that point. Apparently not. Dallas is really starting to hammer on the shots. I know it's game one, but Tampa's got their hands full, man. They have got their hands full. Very nice save from Dobie there. Gonna make a better pass than that. I don't know what the hell that was. Excuse me. Not tired, I promise. God, the second period's already almost over. Amanda's gonna miss the entire second period. But family comes first, obviously. Blue Jays just won't quit. Looks like they've been quitting the last few games. Especially against the Yankees. Don't get me freaking started about that series with the Yankees. God, that was terrible. Oh, Lord. Again, I do apologize for my allergies kind of interfering with the live stream, but shit happens, man. Jesus. Oh, what a save by Hudobin. Are you kidding me? Holy crap. Easy, Anthony. Easy. What a save by Hudobin, man. That's ridiculous. What a save. Wow. Get on Hudobin, man. That's a really, really good save, especially when you're in that much pressure. B-Way. McDonough did a good job to not take a penalty on that partial B-Way. But another good save by Vasilevsky to Portland one, that's for damn sure. Ooh, goodness. Okay, maybe I am a little tired. Been a long, long week. Man, CBC is running out of series, aren't they? I don't know what else has Tampa Bay's got to do, but they definitely can't do what they've been doing these last couple of minutes. Because I mean, I feel like you got to get better traffic in front at this point. I mean, Dallas was practically dominating the start of the second period, but I mean, Tampa is getting their chances, just not really getting, pucks closer to the slot, close enough to try and really challenge Hudobin. And then right off the crossbar from Luke frickin' Shen. The bane of my existence. Not really. He was the bane of my existence in Toronto, okay? Just hear me out. Look at that smile on Klingberg. Woo, buddy. Wow, man. Kiviranta again. That kid's playing well. Kid's playing very well. I said Tampa's got to change something, man. They were that close to scoring, but then Kiviranta, first shot was blocked, and they just let it rip on the second try. Like, Sergachev is down. He's kind of blocking the lane a little bit, but Vasilevsky. Ugh. Jesus. You gotta have that, man. You have to have that. Oh boy. Tampa's definitely got to fix some stuff, man. This was definitely not Tampa's period. Not even close. Ooh. Wow. How does Maroon not get a penalty for that, man? That's got to be a penalty, right? Wow. Good period for Dallas, man. I'll give Dallas credit. They are not messing around tonight. Good period for them. I don't know what happens for for the rest of this game, but Tampa's got to step their game up. They're not playing very well. I'm going to step away. Hopefully, Amanda will be back by the time I do come back. We'll probably just keep it to intermission unless she does come back midway through the intermission. But yeah, we'll just cut to intermission for now, grab some more water, and boy, this third period is going to be interesting, isn't it? We'll be back in a few minutes, so make sure you do stick around. All right, we are back in the second intermission. Amanda is back in the room, and Amanda, you missed some stuff. Fair to say, but it is 3-1 Dallas, and I mean, oh my God, did this team come to play tonight? There's really not much else I could say, but I think it's safe to say Tampa might lose this game. I could be jinxing it at this point, but I mean, Dallas just looks like the much better team. I mean, you saw their performance in the first. Obviously, they lost the gas pedal a little bit in the second half of the first. But, I mean, you saw the stat line while you were away, and, I mean, it was definitely all Dallas in that period. No surprise they're in the lead at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was. I think I came downstairs twice to just check something. It was still 1-1 when I came down. So 3-1 is. Mind you, a 3-1 lead in hockey going into the third is never a safe lead.
Especially when it's a series lead, apparently.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a bit more about this on our new episode tomorrow, but let's talk just a little bit about the Alex Pietrangelo situation. I mean, interesting news coming out yesterday that he's going to be testing free agency, and really, he hasn't ruled out going back to St. Louis, but that opens the market for a lot of teams, Amanda. And do you see him going back to St. Louis?
Not after what St. Louis has told him. And
it doesn't sound good, does it?
No, absolutely not.
That does scare me a little bit for St. Louis's future. But unless they can find some kind of loophole, then maybe he goes back. But, like, what other team would be in on him? Because the score has been saying, the Avs are in on it. The Leafs might be in on it, which I can definitely see. But for the Leafs to make this happen, they got to free up just a little bit more cap room in order to have a bit of a safety cushion. Like, do you see maybe the Leafs going in after him? Because I find it hard to think that they're going to go after him at this point.
I don't think that the Leafs are going to have space, especially if the rumors are true in regards to trying to go after a goaltender like Matt Murray.
I wouldn't be okay with that.
I think that, yeah.
I
think Pittsburgh would have to retain some of that cap hit for sure, and I think that obviously is something that's being talked about. But Dubas knows Matt Murray from the days in the Greyhounds organization, so it's not a deal that would be completely out in left field for me. But again, I think that the Leafs need to focus on that before I think they go after a guy like Pietrangelo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of fingers have been pointing to the Leafs using that 15th overall pick that they got from Pittsburgh to go after Askarov in the draft. But what if someone takes Askarov, like, before the Leafs can get their hands on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, this makes free agency a whole lot more interesting. Like, it was going to be crazy enough, but now that Pietrangelo's thrown into the mix, it could be anybody's game at this point. I could see him maybe ending up in a market like Colorado, but you need to take into consideration, how much is Cale Makar going to be worth 2 years from now? Because that ELC is coming up soon, and you're going to need a lot of money to sign Makar, especially if he ends up winning the Calder. He's going to be worth a lot more afterwards. So I don't want to say St. Louis is off the table, but after, the news release earlier today, it's not very promising. He'll go back to St. Louis, and I have a friend that is a huge Blues fan. I never really talked to him about the whole Pietrangelo situation. He obviously wants him to stay, but it needs to be, and this includes every other team aside for St. Louis, it has to be for the right price. Because, don't get me wrong, Pietrangelo is a Stanley Cup champion, but how much is he really worth? Is he worth Drew Doughty money? Or is he worth, let's say, I'm trying to think of another defenseman to use here. Is he worth Jared Spurgeon money? Because apparently Jared Spurgeon is worth a lot of money and a lot of term. And we'll talk more about the Jonas Brodin. Why am I talking about Jared Spurgeon? That Jonas Brodin contract, we'll talk about that in our episode tomorrow. But just like, how much really is Pietrangelo worth at this point? Does the cup add to how much he should really get paid? Should that really be taken into account? Because I don't think it should be. The cup definitely adds a bit of a factor, right?
I'm reading an article right now in the Score about particularly him and one of the realistic places he could end up, and they have it. So there's 5 that they give, but the most interesting one actually is the Edmonton Oilers for me.
Because I don't know, man. I don't see it.
They have some cap space. They would still need to move things around a little bit, but especially after what we saw happen defensively, I think that is a position that Edmonton needs to really bulk up on. And yeah.
But what do you think is more concerning in Edmonton right now? Their defense or their goaltending? Because for me, it's definitely the goaltending. Like, I'm sorry, but Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen are not the answer, man. I'm sorry, they're not. You can't tell me their goaltending is good enough to get them past the first round of playoffs next year. It's not, in my opinion. I think their defense would definitely be somewhat better, but one player isn't going to make or break your defense. Like, is that fair to say? I just don't see it.
I think that's fair to say. I think they have a really young D group in Edmonton, and I think bringing in a guy of his caliber would certainly help not only develop the guys, but maybe
Okay, it looks like we're having a bit of a technical difficulty with Amanda. We'll try and get her back into the call real quickly. So we apologize for that. We'll try and get her back in as soon as possible. So we're just gonna cut away for a few minutes until we bring Amanda back. So just hang on tight, and we'll be right back.